Okay, people, it's finally here. It's finally time to talk about and review My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, the third installment to the My Hero Academia movie franchise. And I've got absolutely a lot to say. The first portion of this video, though, is going to be somewhat spoiler free to give you guys an idea on just a basic premise of the story, how I basically feel without diving into spoilers too heavily, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of it for people that have watched the film or don't care about spoilers, because there's a ton to say on this film. In case you don't know, if you went day one, they had a limited supply, but if you went day one in the US in particular, you were given this awesome booklet. It's basically like a mini manga, so to speak, with like a one shot that was previously released over there in Japan. And it's a nice little thing. I got I want to say 3 of them all together with me and my niece and nephew that I went to see the film with. And I'm wearing this just because why the hell not? You know what I'm saying? We about to get explosive up in here. But I guess to start things off, for people that are unfamiliar with My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, let's read a little bit of a synopsis of what the film is all about to get people up to speed.
This is it, heroes. Start your missions.
And before all of that, let's just drop my intro, baby, because we're going to get this thing started. Let's do it.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
When a cult of anti-quirk terrorists destroy a city by releasing a gas that causes people's powers to go wildly out of control, Japan's greatest heroes disperse across the globe in an attempt to find the ringleader and bring him to justice. As part of Endeavor's team, Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki travel to the European nation of Otheon. But after stopping a robbery gone wrong, Deku finds himself framed for mass murder and on the run with a 2-bit criminal, with both Odeon's police force and the terrorists hot on his trail. Now, coming into this film, I had a few different, I guess you would say, reservations. One of which, because similar to the last film, a lot of people had high expectations for these films, considering the fact that it seems to be that they allocated a lot of resources towards these films, which kind of made the season of the anime that was being worked on at the time kind of somewhat suffer. Season 4 of My Hero Academia, people accused the Heroes Rising film of making suffer, and then season 5 of My Hero Academia, people say that there was rearrangings of arcs and all that jazz, again due to this film, which this film seems to be taking place somewhere in the midst of the Endeavor agency arc, but before the final, which they rearranged the arcs or whatever, the My Villain Academia arc. So it takes place somewhere in there, so it kind of is, you could argue, canon, so to speak, because a lot of people want to know that immediately, like, is it canon? Is it connected to the manga? Yeah, you could say that, because again, technically it actually takes place in there, and it fits in there, so it's not like, you know, one of the old, I guess you would say, DBZ films where it just could never fit anywhere continuity wise. No, it actually is canon, I guess you would say, and even the author at one given point said one of the original characters from the story he would like to incorporate into his manga someday. And to give you guys a very brief idea of how I felt about this film, it's a fun film. This is something that I would definitely say you could go with family. I don't even feel like you necessarily need to be completely in the loop about My Hero Academia to watch this film, because there's a good chunk of the film alone where you only have one of all of the main characters of My Hero Academia. Out of everybody in class 1, there's a good chunk of the film that you only see the main character Deku on screen for a good chunk of it. The rest of the heroes are off doing other things, because again, this is during the internship. On top of that, everything that's going on with the terrorist group has them scattered around the globe, so you're not really having all of the characters together. So I feel like this is an enjoyable film for people that don't even know about My Hero Academia. You just give them up to speed that, hey, everybody has superpowers, and in this film there's a terrorist organization group that wants to destroy and eradicate people with superpowers for X, Y, and Z reasons. So you could be a newcomer and watch this film, although I'd highly recommend, hey, why not just go back and watch the series at that? You know what I mean? Get really up to speed, or at the release give you a good idea of what's going down here. Also, I guess it's an interesting look to see, because at this particular point in the story, Deku has advanced greatly. Like, if you compare Deku in this film to like the first film or even the second film, you're getting a little bit more of an experienced Deku, somebody that's been through the ringer multiple different times at this point in the story. So you're getting to see how Deku is challenged and maneuvers during like difficult situations at this point in his life and at this point in time. However, there's a lot in this film that had me a little bit kind of sleepy. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to tell you guys a little funny story. So during the movie, when we sat down, I was kind of hyped. I went to this really nice theater, and the seats were very, very comfy, right? And I sat there with my niece and nephew, and I told my nephew, I'm like, yo, I'm a little bit tired, so if you see me dozing off, I really want to enjoy this film, and, you know, I got to talk about it later, too, so just nudge me from time to time. And apparently... Because during the film, there was a couple of moments where my nephew had to nudge me, like, yo, Pa, get up, you're falling asleep here. And following the film, there was apparently a few of you guys, a few viewers, that approached me like, oh, you ForneverWorld, Fornever News, hey! And I was like, yeah, that's me. And they had noticed that I fell asleep a couple of times and was snoring. Yeah, I was snoring. Embarrassing moment there. But upon all of that, I say that to say that there were some moments that, for me personally, put me to sleep. And I'm not saying that throughout the entirety of the film, but in particular, there was moments during the middle of it, because one of the new characters that were introduced exclusively for this film is a character named Rhodey. There's a character named Rhodey that ultimately you see him throughout the film a lot with Deku. They're on like this road trip, I guess you would say, because again, like I said in the synopsis, Deku is wanted for murder, and there's a lot of scenes in between of them two together that just kind of felt a little bit slow paced. Like there was beats throughout the story that in the beginning it started off somewhat hype, and then, you know, towards the end they got hype, but somewhere in the beginning middle, I would say maybe 30 minutes into the film, it was a little bit slow for me and kind of had me drowsy and at times falling asleep. Just keeping it real, it was between the fact that I was tired, but also I was like, And to put things into perspective, if I was to kind of describe the entire movie in a very broad stroke, it kind of felt almost like one of the old DBZ films in terms of, especially towards the end, the action sequences and beats, kind of the comedy mixed in it, but then coded in a whole bunch of Fujoshi bait. And if you don't know what Fujoshi bait is, look it up, or just what Fujoshi means in general. But usually Fujoshi is basically pairing certain type of characters. Like, think how there's a lot of the My Hero Academia fandom that likes to pair Deku and Bakugo, like, oh, they're gonna be together someday. That's kind of what they was doing baiting wise, because it wasn't really like, oh, hey, they're, you know, into each other between Deku and Rhodey. It was just like a lot of bromance between the two of them throughout the film, and at times I'm just like, what about that Fleck Turn guy? Can we see what's happening with him? Can we get any kind of development with him? What's going on there? How about Endeavor? What's up with him? Is Bakugo and Todoroki ever going to return? That was some of the thoughts that I was having while watching this film. I'm like, it's alright, but can we progress things? Like, it was more so building this character bonding between the two of them, this character development of a relationship, and I'm like, because I come from, you know, the first two My Hero Academia films, which, you know, Two Heroes was aight, and Heroes Rising was amazing. I loved Heroes Rising, and one of the things that was really awesome about Heroes Rising was it focused in on a lot of the characters, especially two of the main characters of My Hero Academia, kind of going through it on missions and stuff like that. Deku and Bakugo, and Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki throughout the film. You get a lot of that. You get a lot of Class 1A, and in this one, because of the way the plot was set up, Class 1A is scattered all over the globe, and then the few times that it felt like they wanted to somewhat shoehorn them in, because that's still a big integral piece of My Hero, of like, you know, Class 1A goes through everything together. It's like, hey, look at them on the monitors as Deku is having his 1v1 final bout, and I'm like, that's the way you wedged them in, like, And I guess, because I want to start really getting into a little bit more spoilers, overall, I will say it's a fun film. I would put it somewhere in between probably movies 1 and 2. Definitely not better than 2. Movie 2, Heroes Rising, is far better than this one. It's in competition with the first film. I'd probably have to rewatch both of them to really say which one, because right now I'd probably even put the first film slightly above it, just because of the importance of the first film to the actual manga. Certain things that have happened recently in the manga makes the first film very, very important, so it's kind of a toss-up there. But yeah, if you didn't like Heroes Rising, maybe you could like this one for different reasons, but in terms of if you didn't like Heroes Rising because it didn't have enough action and it didn't have enough of that My Hero Academia film, you might not like this one, because it really felt like sprinkles of My Hero Academia's type of story, amongst a bunch of other stuff. Okay, now getting into more of things, like I said, I want to start talking spoilers, end of the spoiler-free review. So if I drop a spoiler here and there, you are warned. Because again, once we get into the meetup between Rhodey and Deku, the big thing is that there was a big mix-up. Rhodey is kind of like abandoned, so to speak. He's doing a job for like a diamond heist, and that's how he gets mixed up. And there's a big switcheroo with the luggage that he has with the diamonds, with what Fleck Turn is trying to do and everything. And there was a lot of cool moments in terms of like the shorty in the helicopter and stuff, and the action-packed things that happened there. And you know, then how Deku and Rhodey go off on their journey. It made sense. It wasn't just like, hey, let's just throw this dude Rhodey. But it definitely felt like a lot of the story was really just pushing this bromance between the two of them. Like for me, it was the beginning of the movie was really epic. It's like, oh shit, they jumping out of helicopters. This dude Fleck Turn, he's, you know, setting things up for a mass, almost a survival game with bombs all over the world. You got Deku, Baku, and Todoroki jumping out of a helicopter in those epic suits that, you know, they put it in the trailers. They put it everywhere. You thought, like, it almost felt like, damn, maybe this is like leading into a time skip of sorts. Like, look at these epic suits. And those suits were shown literally for like 10 minutes of the film, and then the rest is like you see them in normal attire, Deku in random clothing, and then in the end they're back to their normal attire. And I'm like, where are those epic costumes with the hoodies and stuff? I wanted to see more of them. But at the very least, the beginning, the first 15 minutes or so of the film was really action-packed, epic, and just in general it felt like, where are we going with this? This is kind of hype. It's bringing in heroes from Egypt. It's bringing in heroes from France. I'm like, this is dope. And again, if you're caught up with the manga right now, kind of seeing heroes from worldwide is really, really cool to see at a time like this. Like, this is a perfect thing. It's like, hells yeah, here we go. World Heroes Mission. I'm here for it, baby. Let's do it. But then the movie kind of just takes a sharp left turn and really focuses in on Deku and Rhodey. And for the longest time, like, I could, I guess, sympathize with Rhodey, and I kind of felt for him, and I even looked at him to a certain degree like, oh, that's very admirable, the fact that he was really about his siblings. He wanted to protect his siblings. His life was basically meant for them, so even though he was doing bad things, he was doing it with a noble cause. I want to provide and do for my siblings, because I believe the mother had passed away, and their father, who was tied up in everything with Fleck Turn, had been killed and stuff like that, so it was just Rhodey. So that was admirable. But a couple of different times, like for example, when he tried to betray Deku and called them over to give them the briefcase and stuff like that, I'm like, Deku, can you get mad for once? Like, I get it, hero, you know, boy blue inspired and all that jazz, but fam, if I'm there with you and you try to pull a Tekashi 6ix9ine and snitch on me, I'm slapping the shit out of you, because after Deku gets framed and, you know, they're on the run and stuff like that, is supposedly building a bond. And that's where, again, the other side of the film of what they were trying to do, of just this relationship between these two characters, comes into play. It's like, oh, Rhodey might betray him, and it's like, can we bring Bakugo and Todoroki back into the play? Where's Endeavor's angry ass? Like, oh, Mike, are you gonna come through? I wouldn't mind seeing Yao Yorozu right now. Uraraka, float your ass up into the story. But it really was centering in on the two of them, and that was one of the gripes that I had with the film, of like, it was aight, family friendly, cool stuff like that. Not necessarily what I want to see from a My Hero Academia film, just Deku and this new creator character, Rhodey. Now, I don't want to say creator character because he's aight, cool design, all that jazz. And again, the character development that he had as a character was cool, but... And one of the things, again, that I've been trying to say this entire time is the fact that the film picks up, coincidentally, once Bakugo and Todoroki come back into the fold, into play, into the movie. When they show up after Deku had sent, I believe it was like a Morse code or a call to bring them back in to, you know, help him or whatnot. When they show up, that's when things start to kick off again. And honestly, it kind of even felt a little bit unbelievable in terms of like, Deku is framed for murder. Like, anybody that knows even a slither of Deku, has even had an encounter with Deku, isn't gonna believe that. So I was kind of like, it's a cool hook. It's a good way to get people into the story, but who's believing Deku is a criminal? He's a bad boy now. Like, but going back to it, like, when they showed up, it was really awesome. And in fact, Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki, but especially Bakugo and Todoroki, the battles that they had towards the end of this movie looked gorgeous. They 100 and billion trillion% allocated their best animators, their best resources, their best budgets, everything that you would have expected they would have used to do season 5 that was being in production production at the time of this film as well, they would have probably used those budgets and those animators, top tier guys, and used them for season 5. They used them for this film, clear as day. Like, for starters, Bakugo's battle that he has, the final fight against the dude with the 2 giant freaking, I don't know, metal tentacles or whatever, it looked incredibly gorgeous. In fact, just majority of this film was eye candy, so to speak, visual wise, visual presentation with the art and animation. It just looked amazing. But especially those fights towards the end, I was like, oh my god, I wish we would get more of this, especially in the TV anime. It just looked incredible. Him fighting them, the explosions, his big technique at the end to take him out. I was like, this is awesome. Likewise with Todoroki, first he's fighting all those dudes with the automatic weapons, and then all of a sudden, like, that big white demon looking creature shows up and Todoroki has to take him out. The art and animation again looked freaking phenomenal visuals wise. If you just want to see a beautiful looking film, again, this provides just that. It looks so freaking good. Even the final bout, Deku versus Fleck Turn, which, let's talk a little bit about Fleck Turn, because it's no secret who's the villain of this film early on. There's no major plot twist, opposed to like maybe what the first film did, where like, oh, big plot twist all along. Like, there wasn't really any plot twist, you know. It's this guy Fleck Turn. You got all of his characterization of who he truly is at the end of the film, that basically he's had this quirk that has kind of ruined his life, so to speak. It made his family go away, his girlfriend left him. Essentially, the villain is a dude that hates himself. Self-hatred is what motivated him to want to destroy quirks everywhere, so nobody ever has to go through the pain of like what he went through. And I'm just there like, Fleck Turn, like, what is this? Is this the movie Misery or something? Because you a miserable mother, like, bro, like, this is your motive. And again, he just felt like he was placed, and this organization in general was placed without too much care and thought. It's like, yo, well, we need a villain, we need a threat, we need conflict, you know what I'm saying? It's heroes and villains, let's just throw this dude in there, because he lacked substance. He was cool, again, for a villain for a film, like, hey, there's an evil organization, but there was not much build up to him. In fact, I wish they would have taken time away from some of that stuff with Deku and Rhodey and added more to his mystique, or building him up more of like, yo, this dude is serious business, he's no joke. Which there were some stuff early on when those people were like melting and turning into crazy superhuman villains and with their powers and stuff like that, but I would have liked more personable stuff of him throughout the film leading up to his big battle with Deku, opposed to just in the end he's like, let me tell you my whole life story in 5 minutes, Deku, as we're fighting. Like, oh, his technique was cool, and I feel like they could have utilized it a little bit better as well, because like at this point Deku is not, like I've said before, inexperienced as he is in the first couple films, especially the first film. Like, Deku's come a long ways, so how do you challenge him? How do you have Deku have a credible threat that isn't something too outlandish or outrageous? Well, you have him with this guy that he reflects Deku's attacks, so essentially it's almost like a mirror to where Deku's at right now, but they just kind of had like a big brawl at the end. It wasn't anything where Deku could whip out the strategy that he's known to have, that's an integral part of who Deku is, that's his superpower of like, hey, let me use strategy. No, instead it's Rhodey and his bird that gets the job done at the very end, which, oh my god, that was so lame. His quirk being that his birdie shows his feelings. I'm like, ay, Dios mío, horikoshi que tu haces. Like, fam, what are we doing here? What? I mean, cool beans. Again, if you're a Rhodey fan, then I'm sure you love this film, but like the way the conflict was resolved towards the end, in particular against Fleck Turn himself, I felt like it was a missed opportunity. Like, there was just so many different things that they could have done, especially having Deku fighting this guy to show how far Deku has gone and how far Deku has to go in this battle. That kind of just, they dropped the ball on that aspect, but it looked great. It was awesome. I love when Deku went into that, what kind of looked like, because you saw his eyes morphed into how they look in Heroes Rising. That was cool as hell, but it just lacked, again, a lot of the substance that My Hero Academia is known to throw in. Also, nods to Deku's English voice actor, because I forgot to mention this early on. I watched this in English dub since I went with my young niece and nephew. It's easier for them to watch right now in English dub and not read subtitles and stuff like that. So I watched in dub, and I gotta commend Deku's voice actor. He did a phenomenal job, especially in the final battle against Fleck Turn. I felt that when Deku was screaming, I'm like, ooh, it kind of made me feel like, yo, he's really getting his ass stomped out right now. Oh, like, props and bravo to that dude. Also, really cool, what felt like a nod, and maybe I'm wrong on this one, but it definitely felt like a nod to Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star, where Deku just starts throwing hands nonstop. It looked like he was about to go, what? That was freaking cool in the final battle between Deku and Fleck-Turn as well. I say that all to say that the action 1000% delivered when it was present on screen. I'd say the third and final act, just in general action-wise, was breathtaking. It looked gorgeous. Bakugo's battle, Bakugo fighting the guy after he used the second set of serums and like that. It was 2v1 versus Bakugo. That looked insane. Although I've noticed, what is up with My Hero Academia consistently using the trope of Bakugo getting stabbed straight through? What is that all about? Like, I've seen it already, what, 3 different times now, I want to say, maybe more, of whether it be in a film, whether it be in the actual manga. Why does Bakugo have to constantly get impaled? What's up with that? But just in general, action-wise, I cannot slight this film in the slightest. It was freaking hard. It was awesome. Also, I felt it was neat to have Deku in different spaces and just in general exploring more My Hero Academia. Like, as of recent with this film and even some stuff that's going on in the original manga right now, they really started to expand and world build a lot further than they ever have with this story, because for the longest time it was like, yeah, you get a little glimpse of, oh wow, they're in America for a small moment. But this one, again, revealing heroes from all over the world, having Class 1A going all over the world, that was awesome. So the title World Heroes Mission actually fit very well, because it started expanding the lore of, oh shoot, there's superheroes here and there. And I ain't gonna lie, kind of stood out a little bit, the Egyptian superhero. Like, their character design just didn't feel like a My Hero character design, but that was kind of cool. I wish we would have got more of them, to be honest with you. That was kind of something that would have been freaking awesome. Like, let's just say if Fleck-Turn had, you know, those people, for example, that fought Bakugo and Todoroki, had them spread across the world, maybe had 10 of them that fought like the major heroes and stuff like that, like that big tiger looking dude or lion looking dude. That would have been cool as well. And then the finale where Deku and Rhodey giving hugs in front of the San Francisco Bridge, I was like, clear as day, as I've said earlier, that this film, it was wrapped up with a lot of Fujoshi bait. It was, like I say, the best way to describe it, one of the classic DBZ films in terms of, you would think, like, you know, back when it would be Goku, Vegeta, and Future Trunks fighting like the androids and stuff like that. I forgot, it was Android 13 or something like that. It kind of felt like that with Deku and Bakugo and Todoroki during this film, but then again, it's just candy coated with a bunch of bromance and things to attract that audience. And now I understand why in Japan it was said that this film had more female audience than male audience, because it just delivered that aspect that that audience in particular would like. So overall, if you're asking my opinion whether you should go watch this film, I'd say I'm going to give you a little bit of a nuanced opinion. If you want a cool film, a family-friendly film, if you want to see more, of course, of your favorite heroes with beautiful art and animation, some cool action and stuff like that, highly recommend it. However, if you're expecting something of the level of Heroes Rising, if you want to see constantly, consistently throughout the film, all of your favorite heroes doing stuff, you might be a bit disappointed, because there is a lot of moments of, oh, Deku and this dude Rhodey. And it picks up once again when the cast of characters that you love from My Hero Academia start to show back up and get integral into the story. But as a whole, I had a fun time for the most part. I wish I didn't fall asleep for the few moments I had, because that was a bit embarrassing. Shout out to you dudes that saw me there. But I'm very curious what you guys think. If you've seen My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, how did you feel about the film? Do you feel they executed it properly? Was it done right? Were you disappointed in any aspects? How did you feel about the new character that was introduced, Rhodey, his relationship with Deku? What did you think about the final battles? How did you feel about the art and animation? Again, I can't imagine anybody that would slight that art and animation. It was really top of the line, and again, it felt like Goku, Vegeta, and Future Trunks with Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki. Like, awesome. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the future of My Hero Academia films? I could definitely see them doing more of these. Like, alone, the story was kind of situated so that this could feel canonical to the story. Again, it takes place during the Endeavor Agency arc. It's not the greatest film of the trio that we have so far from My Hero Academia, but it's alright, and you could go watch it with your family and have a decent time, I guess. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission. Definitely an interesting and fun time. Just not what you would expect entirely at the very least from a My Hero film. Also, this book is freaking awesome and, yeah, explosive in certain aspects. Have an awesome day.